Hey everyone, and welcome back to Remember This Tech. Today I'm going to do an unboxing review of a case that I've recently found and used in a build that I really like. It might even be one of the best cases that you can get for around $54 shipped. And I'll go into a little bit as to why I think that is. So come along with me and let's check this case out behind me. The case we're checking out today is a Fractal Design Focus G case. Now, this was on sale at Office Depot, Office Max, but let's take a look at it. And I've used this in my recent how-to guide, how to build your first computer. And I liked it so much that I got another one. I thought it was a great deal with a plexiglass see-through case side. It's decently built. It's not that lightweight and it's sturdy. And I used it on my last build and I thought, well, I'm gonna do a review on this because I think whoever's looking for a good case, quality build, might be interested in this if they can find it where they are, or get it shipped or pick it up in store. You can get it in blue, which I got, I like. You can get it in white and black. So with those case colors in mind, they probably fit most at any build. Now let's get right into it. As you see here, some thumb screws to take off the side panels, and I will take off the front side panel first. And while we're doing that, you might notice one thing immediately if you got some good eyes, is that there is no rear fan here, but there's a spot for a fan. If you have one, you can mount it, but don't let that dissuade you right off the bat. Continue on from the back side, standard IO panel. These are like beveled edges in here, so normally these would be sharp for the sheet metal in this case, and it's not. They are beveled and they're not cutting my hands. And we've got a good spot for the power supply, but it is in the standard old school position for the power supply here. And let me flip this around. This case side panel here, it's just a standard plexiglass with a little grip here to pull it out and take it off. Put that aside temporarily. It did come with a user manual, user guide. There's basic stuff in here that'll illustrate certain things for the case. I'll just go into this really quick before I go into. It tells you contents of the box. 4 power supply screws with 8 optical drive screws, 8 motherboard screws, 12 small drive screws, 5 cable ties, bracket mounting for cables. And it has 8 motherboard standoff screws that come with this. And further in, it gives you a full breakdown of how to remove the side panels, where you can mount various drives on the back of the case, power supply placement, motherboard placement, how to route the various cables for the motherboard cables to put in the power. And here's the pinouts for the connections for the cables in the front, and all kinds of stuff if you check it out. Now, that's impressive because normally I've not seen a case, of this price come with such a detailed manual. And why it's important is that someone who's building their first PC may find this very interesting as a little go-by guide. And it's spelled out plain as day and is really nice. On first glance here, we'll have this box of screws that is kind of jammed in here with the hard drive bay mountings. I'll take that out first. And in here is where all of your screws are, and I already went over those. Stanchions, screws, power supply screws, and 5 zip ties. And they're of good quality as well, and comes with the case. And here we have 2 plastic Fractal Design mounting sliders for 3.5-inch hard drives, or you could mount a SSD in here if you wanted to. And continuing on the case, you'll see it has the logo again for Fractal Design, and clearly marked on the motherboard mounting plate is A or M, and A is for ATX and M is for micro, of course. Now that helps an individual show where to put the stanchions for your motherboard, and of course you always should look and see where your motherboard holes line up, but it's a good guide for a newbie. Here you have the cables. This is your USB 3.0, and most of you probably have that on your boards, but it has your audio connector for your front which I'll show you in a little bit, and your on-off switches for your computer and your HD light and stuff like that. And here's a USB for the front panel as well that goes in your motherboard. Any good case should have that. Now I'm going to turn this slightly so you can see inside here. This, which is going away, I mean most cases don't have these anymore. This is a 5.5 inch bay here. This is for mounting your optical drive if you still have one, or you can probably rig something up and put some more drives in there. Whatever you want to do. And you see over here, this is kind of like empty space, and you can probably get creative. Maybe mount a liquid cooler radiator, or put your radiator up here. There is no fans here, but right here there are filters, mesh filters that you can pop off and clean quite easily. And here you have 2 fans for the front of the case. And that's why I said don't worry too much because there's no fan here, but they give you 2 fans for the front. So if you wanted to, you might be able to pop one out, put it in the back here, or you can just populate this with a cheap $6 fan and run it to your board for extra cooling airflow. This right here, you have thumb screws for mounting your peripherals and your video cards, so that's really nice too. And they're metal, they're not those cheap flimsy pop-off ones, you know how you usually have to take a screwdriver and pry them off until they break. No, these are replaceable and you can reuse them, and that is very good because for a $50 case, when do you see that? Coming onto the front of the case here, you got power switch, reset switch, headphone jack, microphone jack, USB and USB 3.0 ports. That's some standard nice setup right there. And you can take a look at the front ventilation, and you can see a little bit, maybe not, but they have the screen mesh filters from the inside here that you can take out and clean for maintenance. And take a look at the front of the case here. As I said, you have the 2 front bays here, a mesh intake here. This does not appear to be removable, that at least from my eyes, it's not easy to see or even possible. So let me just pop off the back of the case and I'll show you how much room you have for routing wires. So we have the back of the case now popped off. We can see here, there's a couple spots where you can mount some SSDs. You can see there's a channel here for mounting cables and running cables through from the power supply up and through to the motherboard for the 12 volt for the power supply to go in to connect to your CPU power on your motherboard. And you can see plenty of room to run more cables in here. That's decent. Last but not least, if we flip it upside down, this is a mesh filter screen right here on the bottom of the case. So if you're sucking in airflow, this can be taken off and it can be cleaned. It's actual metal screen too. So that's a nice touch because, you know, you want to keep your system clean. The dust will get in every little crevice. So this helps limit that dust. And the bottom has some cheaper plastic feet for the system. And last but not least, this is the actual case that I used for my last build on how to build your first computer. If you haven't seen that, check it out right here. This is it populated. This is the same case, but populated. This is a non-modular power supply. The cable routing is not greatest because I'm not done with it, but you can see this is a full ATX motherboard in here. Plenty of room for a good heatsink. Power supply. This is an RX 580 video card, so you've got tons of room in the case still, and that's why I like it. And you got plenty of airflow and plenty of room to run cables, plenty of room to mount every hard drive you need. In my mind, in my humble opinion, $54, this is probably one of the best cases you're going to find out there. Especially if you want an entry or mid-level build, this is the case to go to. Again, I got mine at Office Depot, Office Max, and that's my pick for their budget build. And you know what? It's beyond budget build in my opinion. Just check it out. It'll be worth your time, and if you like it, you can get it in white, black, or blue. Thanks for watching. Remember this tech.